But the biggest story of the day continues to be this breaking market news, grim economic data, including weak manufacturing report yesterday and today's rise in unemployment. It's all got investors worried about a recession. Let's bring in Mike Lee. Mike, good to see you. We call you a bull. We've got a big dip here. Are you buying it, or have things changed in your mind?
No, so to me, I mean, if you've missed this run up in these AI names, this could be your last opportunity. Probably not your last, but I'd like to think it would be. All these stocks have gotten so much cheaper because we've just gotten a deluge, in my opinion, of fantastic earnings, a reaffirmation that the corporate tech spend and the investment into the data mining that we now refer to as AI and the data, putting all these pieces together. So look, some of these names out here, like AMD, like Marvel, like Google, like Microsoft, are much cheaper on a price to earnings basis than they were last week, last month, 3 months ago, and the earnings are just going to keep growing, particularly in the cloud. We're seeing high 20% growth from all these cloud cloud players. That this is pretty spectacular. And to me, whether it's the payroll data or the consumer data, I'm not seeing anything that we haven't seen. We are in a somewhat sluggish economy, but we're not falling off a cliff in any way, shape, or form. So these AI names, in my opinion, keep working.
Okay, so last week you recommended Google, Meta, Amazon, Apple, some of those chip names. It sounds like you're sticking with those, or you're saying this is a good opportunity to get in. One that's not on the list is NVIDIA. Many investors are watching that stock closely. Are you worried at all, Mike, about this? The reports that the DOJ is opening an investigation to look into their selling practices, maybe that they were putting pressure on some of their clients to buy more or buy bundles of chips that could potentially be an issue.
Yeah, look, I'm not worried about that. I can't imagine they're using sales practices that aren't widely used across Silicon Valley. I'd say, if anything, what we've seen from all these companies that have reported earnings, NVIDIA, I think, is in a few weeks, is that the investment into AI, the investment into data center GPUs is going to be much larger than even the most extreme bulls had predicted. So I'd imagine NVIDIA's earnings are going to be spectacular. Before they report, I thought like about 135, 140 was about fair value for the stock. It's most likely going to get higher. You're getting, in my opinion, I get nervous when the stocks I like go straight to the moon, because then it becomes, you create an air bubble underneath. And so what's happened is these stocks have gotten cheaper. They're catching up to their earnings are catching up to their prices. And if you're a long-term investor and you're not trying to day trade, this is an awesome day to get involved in the market.
I want to go into some of the smaller companies, Mike, away from the big tech. We've been talking a lot about the Russell 2000. These are small cap companies. These are a classic gauge on the strength of the American economy. They typically do well when Trump is elected, right, as we're focused more on an insulated USA. How are you thinking now, given that they are the big underperformer of the day? Is this a buying opportunity, or do you stay away from them if we are indeed headed for a recession?
Yeah, so if you think about, if you look out at the election and say, hey, if I think there's a good chance that Kamala's going to win, I want to own the big names because they're basically insulated from any economic trend. Not completely, but mostly. Whereas the smaller names are much more economically sensitive. And it seems like everybody just woke up and realized the labor market is nowhere near as good as advertised. The consumer's not as good as you've been hearing in the mainstream media and the headlines. To me, this isn't news. This is stuff I've been talking about for the better part of a year. So I'm not surprised. But if you look at the predicted markets for betting for the election, you're now, I think Kamala's 53 to 50. Just a week ago, it was, 60 cents to 39 cents for Trump. So there's some of that in there. But then also you have this computer-driven momentum selling. And what happens is markets don't get volatile to the upside because no one panics when they have more money. When the market goes down, you get panic selling, which brings more algorithmic selling. It's like bad goes to worse very quickly.
That's a great point, Mike. I don't panic when I feel like I've got more money. I'd like to have more of that right now. Mike Lee, great stuff. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.